Hey everybody, it's Ian. All right, sweet. We are live. This is awesome. All right. So I wanted to do this live stream to just one, because I got a new laptop that can actually freaking handle a live stream. But I really wanted to have a chance to just have a live Q&A, talk about some of the content that's out there. Can drop anything in the chat, any questions, any movie recommendations. But finishing up Reservation Dogs season 3, putting closing the loop on the entire show, I really just wanted to get a chance to come on and chat about that in itself, but also some of the other native content that's out there. And I'm hoping to do this on a regular basis, ideally every Friday, every Saturday, just for 30 minutes or so. Just log on, have a live chat with people, address some questions. And I think that would be an easy way for all of us to continue to interact and have good conversations about really the content that's out there. Then in the future, obviously, bring on guests. So if you have any questions, drop it in the chat. But first thing I want to say is Reservation Dogs. Just man, I'm really sad that it's over. Uh, I wish that there was news dropped about spin-offs already. Unfortunately, I haven't seen anything yet, and I don't think there will be anything, honestly, directly from the show. But what I'm really excited about is the actors on the show that were highlighted, the new actors, specifically Lane Factor, DeFaro Wonatai, Paulina Alexis, Devry Jacobs. I think they have a bright future ahead of them, and I'm really excited to see what projects they continue to create and spawn off of this. And even the character who played, um, what is her name? I can't think of it. It was initially their foe, Jackie, because she was in Dark Winds. So I mean, clearly there's already branching and talent has already started to branch off from this show. I'm really excited to see that. What I would like to see is Dallas Goldtooth get more roles. I don't know how multifaceted Dallas Goldtooth is in his acting ability because I've seen him be that same character, Spirit William Knifeman, in the 1492's videos. And that's not a knock on Dallas. I just haven't seen the range yet. He's clearly a comedian and clearly can play uh, comedy episodes or comedic roles. And that's fine if he continues to do that. I just would like to see him do more. And I really hope that because he was such a surprise, that he can do much more and he's given much more opportunities. And I see a question in the chat, excited for Echo. I'm kind of lukewarm on Echo, to be honest. I'm really excited for the showcase of the talent. I think that because it is primarily run by non-native showrunners and non-native writers, I'm it's TBD. Basically, I'm still not sure at this point, and that's okay. I can be okay with that. I can be lukewarm about some of that. I'm fine with that. I'm open to being surprised when it comes to Echo. I'll put it that way. But I'm really not expecting to be blown away, if I'm being honest. But I think one that I am becoming more and more excited for is Killers of the Flower Moon. I was not for a while. To be honest, it was simply because the source material was written by a non-native person, the book itself, and Martin Scorsese is not native, obviously. The writers on the show were not native, and I just really uh I know there was a bidding war in 2017, 2018 to get the rights to Killers of the Flower Moon, and I really was not too sure about how that was going to go. They're just really going to commercialize the whole thing, and I was really worried that Killers of the Flower Moon would become a product of almost like not Avatar esque, but it would just be the spectacle, and then there would be peppered native representation through it, even though it is a native story. But the more I've seen leading up to it, the native actors and the native talent and the Osage community are very, very happy with how Martin Scorsese has treated the entire project. And I'm really excited, to be honest. If you asked me, I should say, my best friend asked me 2 months ago about what I was thinking of Killers of the Flower Moon. I was not excited. I was not excited at all. I was just like, I'm not, The Irishman, and I wasn't that great, that high on it. And it's a 3.5 hour movie. I wasn't expecting much. But I saw a tweet today, and or an X, I don't know what we call them now, but I'm going to see. I'm gonna. I think it's called a message. I don't know what Twitter is called now. I think it's X. So there's an individual named Jim Gray. He's apparently the former chief of the Osage community, and I'm just going off of what I saw on Twitter, so I hope that's true. Um, but he was apparently the chief of the Osage community from 2002 to 2010, and he was very close to the developing and really close to Killers of the Flower Moons as it was being bidded for, produced, written, and then obviously casted, and then as it was made completely. So his opinion, he apparently is related to mm, Henry Roan, who is the individual who is killed in the movie. His murder in this film led to the FBI to charge Hale for ordering his murder. Spoiler alert, that's kind of the whole story. But so he's a direct descendant of that, has been a tribal leader in the community, and he himself in his string of Twitter, in his Twitter conversations and his tweets, said that he's really optimistic. He also had the same perception I did. He was worried that Martin Scorsese, a non-native, would bring in this team of writers, non-native, would bring in this team of actors, non-native, and would be essentially commercializing everything and then take control of this thing that is historically a native story and really the story of America. And it's the history that is disregarded because for convenience. And he was worried that it was going to turn into something else and remove from the significance of it. But he's really excited. He saw an early presser of it, and it comes out October 20th. So that's I don't know, like 20, 30 days, 20, 21 days from now. And I'm really excited, to be honest. I'm not excited for a 3.5 hour movie. You just can't get me excited for 3.5 hour movies. But the fact that Leo is in it, and I hear nothing but amazing things about Lily Gladstone. I've heard so many times from individuals that she's a front runner for initially supporting actress, but she's trying to get push for supporting actor. I'm sorry, for lead actor, lead actress. Sorry for nomination there. So I really hope that all works out for her. I got a couple more questions. Are you going to dedicate each episode of Rez Dogs in its own podcast episode? So I did that for season one. Season two, I started doing that, and then I just took a different direction with the show. But good news is, season three, we did do that. We as a team, there is a show called Indigenous Talk. It's a YouTube channel. It just started, really picking up a lot of steam. They have over almost 2,000 subscribers on that one. But Patrick is a Navajo who runs Natives React, that series. He got a team of us together. There's four of us, and we review every single episode of season three of Reservation Dogs. So if you are looking for more Rez Dogs React kind of review content, we have episode eight, 1 through 8 released. So if you want to go check that out, I encourage you to go check that out. We're just about to finish episode 10, record episode 10 in a couple of days. And I'm really excited about the project and to be a part of it. There's another individual. His name is Elias Goldtooth. He runs Native Media Theory. He is also a part of this operation, along with the duo from Natives React. So if you're looking for more reviews for Reservation Dogs, highly recommend that. Highly recommend you look up Reservation Dogs material that FX itself, the FX network, is creating and pushing out on YouTube. That's all content as well. They're doing behind the scenes for season one, for season two, season three, and I really encourage you to go check those out. If you're also just looking and you're just hungry for more Rez Dogs content, One other thing I recommend you do, honestly, is look up Sterling Harjo interviews. Sterling Harjo has been on really prominent podcasts, comedian podcasts. Bobby Lee, who is the IHS doctor in season one and season two, he has a podcast with Kalila called Tiger Belly, and that's probably my favorite um, Sterling Harjo interview thus far. So highly recommend you go check Sterling Harjo out on Tiger Belly. He's also on What the Fuck, Mark Maron's podcast. That's a really good, informative podcast as well. And then I would also say he was on Bill Burr's Monday morning podcast. He was on one of the Thursday editions because Bill Burr was also in Reservation Dogs as the K. Devery Jacobs, Alora's coach. So definitely recommend you try those three for sure because in those three interviews he talks about really the inception of the show, how it all came about, and then also how it has gone since it's been on board, and he gives some good insight into where the future of native content is going to go in his mind. And of course, they're silly. I mean, three of those people, Mark Maron, Bill Burr, Bobby Lee, they're all comedians. So it's going to be lighthearted and silly and really humorous at times. So I definitely recommend if you listen to my show, then I really think nothing's going to surprise you on theirs. They say some wild stuff on those podcasts, but I really think it's really insightful. Those really help me a lot to get a better understanding of who Sterling is, what his mentality is with the show, and also where we're going with native representation and with content in media and TV. I'll say a few more questions. My reservation based college I go to are going to take students who want to go see Killers of the Flower Moon. Super excited. Man, that's awesome. I'm really excited to see it. Two kids right now, 4 and 2. So I'm really gonna have to get a sitter for like 4 hours, or recommend that like, hey, my like have my wife watch the kids while I go watch it. But I'm really excited for Killers of the Flower Moon. I've really changed my perspective on that. 3, 4 months ago, I was not excited about it at all. I was really thinking it was gonna be um just a bastardized story, not bastardized, but just the native focus would be once I saw that Leo and Robert De Niro and Scorsese were together, I was worried that that trio coming back together would really overshadow everything. And I'm really excited that in all of the things coming up about Killers of the Flower Moon, they're talking about Lily Gladstone. They're talking about Leo DiCaprio. They're just talking about those two individuals, and they're talking about Leo, obviously, because Leo, but I'm really excited for Killers of the Flower Moon. That is my next thing. Now that Reservation Dogs has finished, I'm all about Killers of the Flower Moon. Can't wait to see it. And we got one last question here. I've been loving Indigenous Talk. It's crazy to see the crossover from me. Sub to all of you guys. Do you guys plan on bringing in other creators on? Well, Patrick is a Navajo is the showrunner of the Natives React and obviously Indigenous Talk. And I'm not sure, to be honest, where he wants to take it. I know he wants to bring on individuals just to talk about Indigenous things, all Indigenous things, and have it be more of a React show, like what he talks about, but more talk about current events. And Elias Goldtooth, he's just a great Elias Gold. He's really not Goldtooth. Elias Gold. He's just a great collaborator and great person to work with, and I've had a lot of fun learning from him as well. He's great. He's a great film mind for sure, and he's also trying to push out new content for himself in terms of like creating short films, getting submitted to festivals, and keep on the lookout for what Elias has. And as far as my own, I want to keep Native Film Talk going as a podcast, and I have an idea for a new podcast that is more interview based because I feel like one, that's easier for me to produce and push out regularly, but two, as I've done more and more interviews, I realize, man, that's where I want to have those conversations. Given that most of my listener group, my viewers, listeners, are non-native, I really want to have insightful conversations about who Native people are, the things we go through the day to day, where we are today, where we want to go, and also for Native people who listen to hear individuals that may or may not have been in similar situations, but just having more people talk about the triumphs and successes and overcoming adversity among Native people. I feel like there's not enough of that out there. There's no podcasts highlighting the successes of Native people, unless you're super, super prominent, unless you're like working at NASA or you're Sterling Harjo. Nobody's really talking about what you're doing on the day to day, the grassroots efforts of Native people to revitalize language, to bring community together, to bring individuals out of poverty. All of the great things that Native people do, both at the ground level, at the reservation itself, and then out all the way out to DC with like policymakers and even athletes and things and like philanthropic endeavors. I would love to talk to individuals who do those things. So hopefully that continues to um, turn into something. Is what I'm hoping it will. So already working on one. That's why I got a new laptop so I could do all of this. I had all of the sound equipment, but that's why I wanted to get a really good camera and just be able to have more of a interview YouTube style and to add video to all of my native film talk episodes. So that's what I will be doing. It's pretty fun. Pretty fun. All right. So we've talked about Echo. We've talked about Reservation Dogs. We've talked about reacting to the rest of the season of I'm sorry, season 3 of Rez Dogs, Killers of the Flower Moon. Um, one thing that I saw recently last week was one of the other things I wanted to do with this Q&A was just talk about things that I've seen and the viewers have seen, but no hard feelings with Jennifer Lawrence, J Law, her like first openly like comedic film, and one, I really enjoyed it. I was really surprised. I did not think I would enjoy that as much as I did, and I'm really surprised. No hard feelings was great, but what I was super surprised about is Zon McLaren was in No Hard Feelings. He was in. He was Jennifer Lawrence was just chatting up the screen and was just chatting it up, walking down a hallway, and then she bumps into Zon McLaren, who plays one of her friends, and they're just like surf bums basically, and I loved it. I just there is a native there he isn't just a regular dude. Zahn does play a native because she makes a joke basically like, do you understand what it means, what it feels like to have somebody want to take your stuff essentially? And he just stares at her, but he never says like I'm native. He never identifies what tribe he's from, but just by the way he looks and everything, and I think because he's so prominent, it was really good to see him. So highly recommend No Hard Feelings. It's a good like background movie, but Zon McLaren is in it. Go check that out. I got another question. I haven't heard any recent news about Avatar: The Last Airbender. I have not either. There were some controversy around Ian Oosley, I believe is how you say his last name. Ian Oosley, I think specifically around his tribal affiliation and the fact that he was going to play one of the waterbender characters. Um, I love this freaking TV show. Why don't I know his name? Sokka. Yeah, Sokka. Idiot. Sorry about that. So he was playing Sokka, and yeah, I think there was just at least among the native community, there was a lot of speculation and suspicion around his tribal affiliation. And I guess I'll just leave it at that. But that was kind of the last thing that I heard. I do know that there is a live action Avatar: Last Airbender uh, film being created. I just have no idea where it is in the development stage with the writer strike and the actor strike. I'm sure all of that has been pushed back, whatever that timeline was. Um, and honestly, with that, I think the water tribe piece of it, I'm excited to see what they do. Um, but that's more of just being an absolute fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm not looking at it to be any kind of insightful on I'm not looking at it to be insightful or accurate in any way, because it is almost like a fiction. It's weird because you're like taking these foundational ideas of who you think native people are, and you're like, here's who I think like Inuit people. I'm assuming they're thinking of Inuit people, but here's what we think Inuit people look like. Unfortunately, they probably thought Eskimos when they wrote the thing, but here's who Inuit people, what I think they look like, and let's like morph that into what we think the waterbenders would be. And they did that with the firebenders, they did that with the earthbenders. They just took this like amalgam of these regional people and they just morphed them into a fictional tribe of people. So I'm not looking for it to be really insightful. The fact that Ian Ousley is or is not native is up for debate. Doesn't really concern me. I think why that wasn't particularly an issue is I specifically looked up the casting call. Yeah, the casting call for those roles, and when it came to Katara and Sokka, it was explicitly said, "We're looking for an indigenous youth from this age to this age," and it specifically spelled out indigenous. And so, I think the person who plays Katara actually is native for sure, like from a native community. I think the individual who plays Sokka, I think there was just some debate out there, and there's speculation. I don't know anything more than that, and but once again, I'm not really looking for that to be on the nose accurate. I think as a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender, I'm just really excited to see more Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think that the last live action attempt by M Night was just atrocious. So I'm really just looking forward to get that bad taste out of my mouth and get something better in there. So I got the last comment. Good evening from Houston. We've been enjoying your vids and your insight. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much from Houston. I'm currently in Phoenix right now. It is 9:21 at night. So really appreciate you listening at this hour. If there's anything you want me to talk about, you have any questions at all, I really appreciate anything you offer. I'll probably go for another 9 more minutes and then we'll call it. But I just really am excited to be able to stream now. For those of you that have not heard, I'm going to try to make this a weekly thing. 30 minutes probably every Friday or Saturday, whichever one works better, just to come on. And ideally, I'm going to link using software to try to have it be on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at the same time so that way I can get more of the followers and people who listen to the podcast and really just hopefully get a regular dialogue going on on news coming up. And especially as we get closer to Killers of the Flower Moon, October 20th, that would be awesome if we could come on and do a live of like, what did you think of Killers of the Flower Moon? That would be so freaking cool. And then get guests on, get some people to call in. That would be a lot of fun. I do have all that capability now. While I've been away, I bought software, I bought some hardware. I have all everything I need here to be outfitted. And kids are getting older. So when my second kid came about, I really just took a lot of my focus and attention and drive, I should say. And then I just got caught up doing other things. But now that we're here, I just really want to dedicate time back to the show again. And I really want to make time. And that's why I want to do this at least 30 minutes a week, just talking to the individuals who listen to the show and support the show. So, those of you that are here right now, I really appreciate all of you for listening. Best thing you can do is like, subscribe, and give me feedback on how I can make the show better. And one of the things that someone had said always is, when are you going to add video to your podcast? When are you going to, well, here we go. I'm here right now. When got this laptop, this nice, you can see me. I'm clear now. If you've been watching the Indigenous Talk episodes, you can notice like of the four, I'm like super grainy. Everyone has really clear video. My audio has always been solid because I was an audio based podcast, but my video is always kind of grainy. And you may or may not have noticed, but now I got some solid video. Really excited about that. Let's see, what else have we got? We got the Avatar: Last Airbender. We talked about Killers of the Flower Moon, the end of Reservation Dogs, um, the co-creators of, well, then I'm not creator of Indigenous Talk, but co-host, co-guests of Indigenous Talk. I think that what's exciting right now, and I'm a little nervous about what it's going to look like post strike, but prior to the strike, there was just so much native content. You had Dark Winds, you had The English, you had Rutherford Falls before it got canceled, you had Resident Alien, Reservation Dogs. Unfortunately, now what I'm fearful of coming out of the writer strike is the studios wanting to be safe with some of their native production. I feel like there was a little bit of a blank check being written because they saw, hey, there's opportunity here, there's success here, there's influence, and there's interest. but I don't know if they're going to go the safe route and trying to protect the bottom line, depending on what was negotiated on, depending on how much of a haircut they're going to get from the bottom line, how much of their profits are going to be going away. So I'm curious if some of that is going to be relegating the native representation and the native content to the indie films and more of like on the festival circuit, on the lower level festival circuit. And that's okay. I think it just is unfortunate for those of us that seek out native content and hope to educate and influence people's opinions of who native people are and will be, um, in the mainstream. So I think one great example, though, if you have not, I'll make one recommendation before we end this thing in 10 minutes or so, is War Pony. War Pony is a indie film that came out recently. It's available. It's on the VOD. It's available video on demand. So wherever you get your films right now, wherever you rent your stuff, highly recommend that you look up War Pony. WARPONY. And that is, um gosh, it is so freaking good. That's all I can really say about it. They're first time actors in War Pony. Takes place on the Pine Ridge Res, and it really is a depiction of Res life in the saddest and best ways. And it really is a more like poverty stricken, from a poverty stricken lens. It deals with, absent parents, absent fathers. Um, Unfortunately, it deals with those topics, but it's dealt in a way because it's written by a native person. It's not directed by a native person, but it's written by a native person. The leads are native. It's a phenomenal film. That was probably my favorite film of the year. Highly recommend you watch War Pony. It's freaking awesome. And the talent in there, the talent in there is it blew me away. I'm like, how did they knock this out of the park like this with first time actors? But I think that's what you do when you have top notch production, top notch, executive producers. You have people behind you that are willing to take chances and take a gamble on people that don't have a big draw, but are just wanting to tell a story that needs to be told. And War Pony is the perfect example of that. So highly recommend you go and watch War Pony. It's phenomenal. Um, One last thing. Heard from my native lit teacher that one of Tommy Orange's books is being adapted into a film. I heard I heard that too. I don't know if it's there or a different one, but I'm really excited for that. I really hope that does happen. Tommy Orange is legit. I would love to see something from his be adapted into a film. That would be fantastic. So anything else from anybody? This has been great. We've been going for almost 30 minutes. Really appreciate everybody joining. I really appreciate everyone supporting the show, supporting the podcast. It's been a long road, to be honest. I'm really, I'm really, I'm really just happy that I'm able to give time to the show again. I really missed it. I really missed doing this a lot, and people still listened even while I was away, and I'm really been happy about that. A couple of listeners told me that they're in their college classes around like native film, native lit. My show would get recommended as like, hey, here's a person that's like doing what we're talking about or reviewing native films, and a lot of that just kind of gave me external motivation to continue to like, you got to keep doing the show, you got to find time for it, and so here I am. We got a comment here. This is kind of random. Have you heard rumblings of a spin-off of Hanzee Dent character from Fargo? Really enjoyed that character, but felt it could have been fleshed out more. So that's the first time I've heard that. And given where Zon McLarnon is, I'm positive that he could lead his own show because of how prominent he is right now in just the film industry. The zeitgeist is the right word, but that's feels like the right one. He is so he's the name right now, basically for native people, for native actors. I'd say before Lily Gladstone blows up from Killers of the Flower Moon. But I could see it happening. I have not heard anything about that, but I do know that Hanzee Dent, season 2 in particular of Fargo, this television show, has a not a cult following, but it's revered as like the one of the best seasons of the entire show, if not the best. Behind yeah. So I highly recommend people continue to look out and be excited for stuff like that. What I was worried about with the writer's strike is that all of this stuff would not materialize and we would go back to where we were 10 years ago when we're just looking for native content and we're finding it in like small pieces, but nothing ever led by native people or funded behind native people. So, what I'm really excited about with Reservation Dogs is it's giving Native people a voice and it's showing Native people and non-Native people that the gold standard for Native representation and Native content is to give Native people the resources, give them the platform that they deserve. Have, for example, that is such a complex character. Has like 5 lines of dialogue, 10 lines of dialogue. Does not talk a whole lot, but how complex that individual is as a Vietnam War veteran. That was his story arc. I mean, he to flesh out who that person is, who Hanzee Dent is, the life that Zon McClellan breathed into that character. That's what we need more of. And that's just one example. But like Reservation Dogs, we had aliens, we had Bigfoot, we had supernatural, we had real, we had on res, off res. We had so much stuff in there. Elders, young people, so many different tangents that could be explored and can be explored. So I'm just really excited for the future of native content because I didn't see any of this coming. When Rez Dogs first came out, I was really not sure what we were getting, and it just exceeded every expectation I could have ever imagined. So I really hope you're right about Hansi Dent getting a spinoff. That'd be fun, and it would just add to the legend of Zon McClarnon at this point because he's everywhere. Those of you that missed it, he was in No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence, that film. So encourage everyone to go check out No Hard Feelings and be on the lookout for yeah, just more Zon McLaren things. So I'm really excited. Anybody see Dark Winds? I did not see it. Unpopular opinion. Not really a fan. It's very lukewarm. Uh I'm very lukewarm on Dark Winds. When I saw the it feels good. It's just a good show. It's not great by any means. I feel like Reservation Dogs is a great show. Dark Winds, I don't know if it's the time period that's taking place in. I don't know if it's the fact that I'm too close to it because I am Navajo. I have no idea what it is, but it's not that great to me. But season 2, I haven't seen it yet, so who knows? I'm just basing everything I'm saying off of season 1. I purposely waited for season 2 to completely come out, so I plan to binge Dark Wind season 2. So hopefully when I'm done with that, I plan to do this live weekly. One of those weeks I'll come on and just give my brief opinion about it and talk about it. I liked I love the casting though. The casting is great. What I hope most from Dark Winds is that people like Kiowa Gordon. I mean, Zon McLaren's already, on a rocket, but but Kiowa Gordon, I hope he gets more opportunities off of this. I think there's just a few other prominent uh, um actors in there, like Jackie from Rez Dogs. She's in Dark Winds as well. I think he's just going to continue to showcase native talent, and that's what I'm most excited about. What I'm most excited about for Dark Winds. So I'm really excited to see that. All right, everybody. I don't think I have anything else right now. I just wanted to come on real quick and say thank you so much for supporting the show. Thank you so much for watching today. Thank you so much for um, really just being a supporter of everything that I've done thus far and continuing to support. I'll be on next week and hopefully I can watch some Dark Winds between now and then. I would like to try to watch some of the English. I really don't know how I feel about that show. I watched one episode and I just was like, eh. It kind of felt like Yellowstone 1883 when I watched it. I'm just like, what is happening here? But it felt a little bit better than Yellowstone 1883 was atrocious. I'm going to be honest. If you like that, it's fine. It's fine to have guilty pleasures. I personally did not enjoy it. But the English, I'm curious. So maybe I'll check out a couple episodes of the English, check out some couple episodes of Dark Winds, and then next week we'll have something else to talk about. That'd be great. And then hopefully, as we get closer to Killers of the Flower Moon, more trailers are released, and we can really get more hype about that. I'm can't couldn't be more excited for Killers of the Flower Moon. All right, everyone. Talk to you later. Peace.